So far, I have gone through a good amount of the changes that came along with Title Update 3, aside from the new missions. I've gotten a feel for the new Gunsmith changes, played quite a bit with Pathfinder, and I've checked out some of the new weapons. However, the real question is, was that time well spent? Well, I will be doing a full review of this update later this week with my usual setup, not this quick webcam style that I am experimenting with right here, but that video will include a full review of all the DLC missions and the new content to see not only if this update is worth your money, but if it's worth, more importantly, in my opinion, your time and your download space. A friend of mine recently pointed out that he may not even go through re-downloading this game due to other games that take up a lot of space. So is it worth moving stuff around to download this game again? Keep an eye out for that full review video later this week, but for right now, let's go ahead and talk about this update at first glance and see if these changes are noticeable. First, I would like to just briefly discuss the new Pathfinder class, whose patch is a flying squirrel underneath an Azrael drone. I get the Azrael drone, but how does a flying squirrel represent this character? Anyways, if you were expecting a similar character to the Wildlands class of the same name, well, you are out of luck. The crossbow and stealth style gameplay that characterized Pathfinder in Wildlands is nowhere to be found in this iteration, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This Pathfinder uses an Azrael drone as his main ability. Essentially, you hack an Azrael drone and take over control of its weapon systems, which is capable of shooting missiles, flashbangs, lures, and scanning wide areas for enemies. However, the ability is a little underwhelming. Even though my opinion is tentative at this point and may change by the time the full review comes around, I don't think it will change much on this front. Pathfinder just seems to add tedium to an already tedious game. The reason I say this is because in order to use the Azrael drone, you must fill your skill bar by activating an uplink protocol.
Got an Armoros drone on station, ready for uplink.
How do you get uplink protocols? Well, you have to find tactical caches. How do you find these caches, you might ask? Well, Pathfinder has an ability called Scout Vision, which has the sole purpose of finding tactical caches. I'm not sure what's going on here, because it seems that tactical caches and Scout Vision were only introduced to do one very simple thing, which is to allow Pathfinder to use his ability. However, tactical caches can give you various types of resources on top of the uplink protocol that you get already, and Scout Vision could be used in combat, but I found Scout Vision to be very difficult to use in engagements. So once you do get your ability, it takes a bit to even get in the drone. And a word of warning here, you better be real fucking selective about when and where you get into this thing, because if you die during that startup animation, which is slow already, you lose your ability and your uplink protocol. What the fuck is that about? I get losing one or the other, but you lose both? So let's say you do get into the drone and you're firing at some baddies. Well, this thing is pretty underwhelming in my opinion. The explosions are small and do not give you too much adrenaline. I was hoping for some big explosions, but that's just not how it is. Plus, it is difficult to hit things due to its large fire spread. It becomes even more difficult to aim because you can't control where the drone moves, so you can't really get angles. I will get some more playtime with this, but as of right now, it doesn't really do much for me. The last thing I will mention here about Pathfinder is his passive ability, which allows him to make better use of rations. To be honest, I completely forgot about rations. I even made a lot in preparation for using Pathfinder and then forgot to use them again. I just don't see the need for rations in the first place, and Pathfinder doesn't do much to change that. Moving on, I was most excited about the changes coming to Gunsmith. Brand new stocks? Hell yeah, but I was a little disappointed to discover that these stocks don't do much in terms of gameplay. Some of them don't do anything to gun stats and are purely cosmetic. Okay. The remaining stocks either affect recoil or time to aim, and that's about it. So you might add a stock to make your gun very quick with its time to aim, as I have with the Scorpion Evo CQC in the gameplay. You can also reduce your recoil some more, but that's really about it. Nothing too game-changing here except for cosmetics. Also, you can now use any underbarrel attachment on any gun. That's pretty cool. But again, as of right now, this doesn't really do much to change the feel of the game. And they made grenade launchers more widely available as well, but to be honest, I have not used this attachment in any serious way. It may be fun to mess around with, but I would much rather not use it. I think that this is a good time to mention a big problem with all these changes that will serve as a good segue to the next topic. When I am ADSing, I can almost never tell what gun I am using because they all feel so similar. I may be alone in feeling this way or in the minority, but to be completely honest, I just don't feel any difference between the ASRs or SMGs. They all feel pretty similar. Maybe a slight difference in recoil or fire rate, but that's really it. This point serves as a segue because the last thing I wanted to address in this video is the new weapons. It's great that they added new stuff, and I have not even played with all the new weapons yet. But what good is variety if it all feels pretty similar to someone like me? I bought the Honey Badger first, hands down. I have loved this gun in other games, namely Call of Duty Ghosts. After using it for about an hour here though, I could not remember if I was using the Scorpion, the Vector, or the Honey Badger. Aside from their looks, I just can't tell the difference between them for the life of me. So why would I grind for new guns that most likely won't feel any different from the current ones? And I want to emphasize the word grind here because that's basically what it is. Many of the new guns are 20,000 skill credits, and two of them, the FAL and the UMP CQC, are 15,000 credits. That's probably not a big deal for the hardcore players out there, but for someone who doesn't play every night, it is really difficult to come up with enough credits to get all these weapons, and that's excluding the new purchasable cosmetics. However, you can also unlock some cool looking variants as rewards for completing missions, so that's a pretty good alternative. So as I mentioned earlier, I will be doing a full review later this week that will include a review of the DLC missions and all this new content in depth. But for right now, is this update worth your time, and is it worth re-downloading if you don't have it downloaded already? I don't know for sure. That decision is going to be largely individual, but for me, right now, I'm starting to lean towards the negative. However, I hope the new DLC missions change my opinion towards it, but we will see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the review video.